What's up, Bill? There's things over there. class. You gotta show up. You gotta line up to pitch. You're not pitching. This is gonna be the first class that's a little bit more like pretty standard. And so we're gonna start with you guys pitching. I'm glad to see a bunch of people lined up. I'm excited to see the pitches this week. I have $100 in my pocket for Sarah and for someone else who wins this week. And we'll see a bunch of pitches. Then we're gonna see what you built with your demos. And as hopefully over time, the demos are gonna look a little bit more interactive. Like we're like, how do you demo this? I don't know, how do you demo it? Like how do you show us the output of what we asked you to do, what it did for you, and then we like think through it. Like here's why it does that, because hopefully we're going to notice some things that are different about them. And you'll be like, oh well, like this is why I did this, or this is how did you get that? Like, oh, this is what I prompted or asked it for. So will happen next. Then we're going to bring up and through that you'll get feedback from me and from my partner Brian Chambers. He's here. Brian's the president and co-founder of Capital Factory. He lives in Dallas. And he'll get to introduce himself later, but he'll be giving some feedback too, and very active venture capital investor. We also have a peanut gallery with Phil Greenwald, who is another entrepreneur who now is running the innovation programs at the University of Austin around the corner, and we're trying to figure out what cool stuff we could do together, so I invited him to come check it out. And Eric Henenhofer, who's a great entrepreneur, one of our most active investors and mentors, and also has been involved in this class like since the beginning, so they might chime in too. So after all of the pitches and the demos, then I'm going to invite Brian up, and we'll sit up there, and we'll talk. Actually, no, first he's going to get up. Brian's going to give a pitch. I don't know exactly what he's going to pitch, but I gave him some ideas. So he'll give a pitch, then he might show a demo of something, I'm not sure, and then we'll talk about his business that he's going to talk about, and we'll ask some questions. Then I'll give one more pitch, and then we're done. And and I'll explain next week's assignment. And then next week will be the last week where I tell you what to go build. And then after that, you're going to get to pick from all the things that we saw. So, quick reminder. And what's your name?
I'm Tanner.
Awesome, Tanner. We're going to head up to you.
Awesome. So I want y'all to stop and imagine for a second that, it's late night, you're scrolling on Tinder, and suddenly you get a match. It's Ella. And you gotta start the conversation off right, you wanna say something smart, so maybe we start with, hey with 3 Ys. It's simple, it's flirty, but then she's just gonna say hi back. So maybe we try the AI-generated line that Tinder gives you. Hey Ella, anything exciting going on? No, that's gross. Why don't we try a pickup line? Something like, sorry, I had to call the cops because you stole my heart. No, even worse. See, starting a conversation on a dating app is actually really tough. And even if you do get the conversation started, you end up having the same boring talk over and over again. And this is what makes dating apps so draining, and honestly so boring. And that's where Loom comes in. Because Loom is a dating app that believes dating should be fun and exciting. Now on Loom, when you match with somebody, you don't have to think of something smart to say to start the conversation. Instead, you're going to play a fun little mini game. And not only does this help you get to know the other person a little bit better, but it's also going to segue into an easy, fun conversation afterwards that's unique every time. And this is what makes Loom so different, because Loom is not only super fun, but it's also going to help you get on more dates, because you're playing games, having more conversations, which leads to more dates. Now, the app is almost done being built, so if any of y'all are interested in helping me grow Loom at UT, I'm building a team, so please come talk to me after class. I'd love to have you on board. Because together, we can help bring back the fire and the fun to dating. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. So our next person's coming up. That was a great job. I think it's really clever. Sounds interesting. Dating is a massive category, so you can always still have another dating app. And to be honest, I think that still works. But it's very mature. But so back to something probably you're going to hear me say a lot. It's something that's hard, something I still have to work on, and something that is like the first step I'll say over and over is the story. So you described it. You described how it worked and what it was. Whereas you missed the chance to like kind of tell the story of like, hey, I went on this dating app, and you had you told it well. Like, had a little bit at the beginning, but it could have been even more of like, let me tell you what the last time I went to a dating app, and like this is what, just make it a story of a personal story. And then I went to Loom, and I saw this girl I really liked, and I clicked on it, and suddenly we were playing this little game, you know, and like actually say like you know, ideally give an example of the game, like don't just say we have a fun game, but like describe a fun game, and then you have to have like a killer example, and then well, we just kept talking, you know, like, and what do you know, actually by the end of it, it was super easy. It didn't feel weird to be like, hey, do you want to meet up and go get coffee, and I'll see you again for a second date next week, you know, like, and just again, you just like make it into a story that expresses it. Okay. You got that.
Something that comes to my mind, and we say it a lot. It was a great pitch. I enjoyed it. I don't have a lot of experience on dating apps, but there's this saying that investors have a lot, which is like, don't build something that can be somebody else's feature, or don't fund something that can be somebody else's feature. So imminently that's going to come up, and you'll need to have a really great answer for it. Why doesn't Tinder just implement the game? They already have all the users. The other opportunity with like, when you build an app, you really need a viral like a positive coefficient for every one person that plays the game, like 2 more actually join, and like that's how very healthy apps grow. And so how do you set the hook that somebody completes a game and there's this kind of coefficient that automatically lands like new users that are coming into the app in a fun way? So customer acquisition, user acquisition is always the hardest to crack.
Awesome. Who's next? And remember, we're doing, like Nick said, we do the one clap. It's like, you watch me, although sometimes I forget. Actually, can you do this on Julie? Louder, big arms. You actually have to kind of go slow, because like everybody's watching you. You're like exaggerating. You're like slow motion. All right, let's try it. You ready? Watch me. That was okay. That was better. One more time. All right, that was pretty good. All right, go for it.
Hey everybody, my name is Justin, and I want to start off by saying how ever since I was a teenager, I've been trying to lose weight. I would go on these cycles of cutting, bulking, it'd be a repetitive cycle over and over again. And what I also had to do to help me was use different apps for weight loss, right? So I'd have to use one app that would track my calories, another app that would be for tracking progressive overload and my strength. Another app would also be used for daily weight tracking. So all these different apps would be pretty annoying. They wouldn't really help me actually lose weight just because of having to switch between apps, and I would never really feel anything personal. I never felt like a personal relationship with either any of these apps. So that's where Ascend Fitness comes in. Ascend Fitness is an app that I'm working on to where it's an all-in-one health and fitness app where you don't have to transition between different apps and use it, to where you can only use one, and it feels very personal. And the way we're going to make it personal is through an AI coach. So an AI coach, it could completely replace a personal trainer. So we can use it to where you only need, and we'll already have all your data, we'll already have all your statistics and information, and the only thing that you need to do is keep inputting yourself consistently. And the way we make it to where you are more consistent is by having all these features, so you don't have to transition between any of these other apps. So that's the Ascend Fitness.
Yeah. The beginning of the story was really good. Yeah, you're gonna hear this is like pretty common. You're gonna hear this pattern, right? You started off with a story, and then you lost it. Then you're like, but ours lets you do this, and it lets you do this, and it lets you do this, and it lets you do this. As opposed to, so then I used, mine, and here's what it was like, and here's why it was better. And that will, the more that you can continue the story into it, the more impactful it'll be. Okay? All right, thanks.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh, and I spent the last 9 months working at a sales role at a startup here in Austin. give you a quick picture of my day, pretty much 9 to 9 on the phones, handling book consultations with customers, selling our product, right? A big part of my day though, and this is something that I would chat about with a lot of my team members, is I would waste about, a certain couple hours of my day just sanitizing my CRM. For some of you that don't know what a CRM is, this is where I put all the information for the leads that I had for the day. And one key catchphrase that we would say when we're wrapping up our day is, I wish I could have that hour back. What I could have done with that hour is add to my company's bottom line, get a few extra sales, and just generally end the day off on a better note. It got me thinking, what could I do to get that hour back? Rather than sanitizing my data and jumping from platform to platform, what if I could have all the data that I needed on the dialer app that I was using to call my customers on? My idea is Ringlet. Rather than using one of the hundreds of different SaaS dialers that are out on the market today and churning from them every 6 months because, frankly, they suck, like my team was churned twice in 9 months, what if I could just handle all of my CRM data on the same platform? This is something that HubSpot and Salesforce does today too. They do offer the ability to call people through their platform, but it doesn't always work out. They don't have a lot of the features and the accommodations that sales reps needs. Yeah, they have great dashboards and compliance projects for managers, but for the sales reps like me, it's a big bloated waste of information and it takes too much time. So my idea is Ringlet. What I would propose is one singular platform for sales reps to use. You call from this platform. This is where you interact with all your customers. And rather than looking at a ton of different fields for different parts of the pipeline which are not related to your day-to-day, you have everything related to your sales call in the 10 to 15 fields right in front of your screen. During or immediately after your call, you log everything on your Trojan horse CRM, and it's directly related to your company's central CRM. This means that your managers still get to use Salesforce and HubSpot to make their accurate dashboards, but the sales reps get to save their hour of their day handling calls and getting an extra sale. So who's with me to add 10% to their bottom line with Ringlet?
All right, awesome. Well, first of all, great pitch, really good delivery. Clearly you practiced. Another thing I've said is super important. Your pitch, to me, honestly, felt, the feedback feels a lot like the one right before it. Like, it was a great pitch. It was really good. And it started off really strong, with a really strong story. And then went into, but with our new thing, you can do this. And you don't have to do that. And you can do this. And it became a pitch instead of a story. And it's, again, it's difficult. Like, even when I'm trying to do it, I find it difficult. But that was what would really take this to the next level, is like then turning that next part of it into a story. But I'll tell you, like, for me, what I find, and again, some of this is style, different people might see it different ways. Like, the beginning of it, you totally had me. I was like listening, I was there, I might have been eating my chicken, I was totally listening. And then what happens is when you go into that other mode, like, I just start getting distracted. Like, I kind of have to make myself pay attention. Because people don't want to listen to a description of something.
Yeah.
Even if they think they want to. So anyway, that's what'll take it to the next level. It was really good, but more story. Like, I was like, halfway through, I was like, he's gonna get a thumbs up. He's gonna get a thumbs up. And then I was like, oh, you're not quite there. So like, you could get a thumbs up next time if you could get the story on the second part.
So Josh, like an example of if it doesn't exist yet, they're trying to build it. So how would they?
Oh, you just fake it. You just it doesn't matter. And that's the thing. The other thing is, you said the phrase "I propose" like 3 times. Just delete that. Because it doesn't add strength to your argument.
Right.
You're it's just you're pitching. It's okay to be a little forward thinking or to clarify at the end, that was a vision, this is what I'm trying to build. So just say, as if it exists. This is what I'm doing. It does this. So with my thing, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you can say at the end, it's not quite built yet, but that's what it's gonna be like. Don't you want that? That's the vision, you describe, I would describe the vision of what it's like to use it.
Yeah. My feedback is the same as Josh's. Now understanding the feedback one that I'm giving is just really, it's not the narrative matters so much. It is the key thing that someone's gonna relate to, they're gonna empathize with, they're gonna share a pain point. And the second you started talking about, well, this other group does this and they have that feature,
Right.
it's you lose the narrative and you just start kind of comparing products on it just gets, kind of gets less engaging. So I think the more you can hold on to the narrative, it is very hard. I'm going to try to do it a little bit later. We'll see if I can do it. But hold on to the narrative and story tell your way through the personal pain points. I think what makes it makes it engaging.
Great.
Thank you.
Go one more.
So I'm actually noticing two patterns with everyone's pitches. So one, just to echo what these guys said, it seems like everyone is creating emotionally compelling problems. You're all painting good pictures of the problems, and I think you're losing the audience when you get to the solutions. And so a good rule of thumb is if you find a problem that emotionally captivates, make sure that you really believe that solution also emotionally captivates, that it actually solves that problem, it solves the problem well enough, and it's one that can be related to. And then also, there's sort of a rule of thumb with startups that you want to focus super specifically and do one thing really well for a small amount of people. The second pattern I've noticed here is I want to make all-in-one tools, and even the tools like HubSpot and things like that now do a lot of different features for a lot of different things, all started out focusing on doing one thing really well, and we're able to grow that over time and now have that same problem. Typically speaking, it's only when there's a major technological shift that you can start saying, we want to do the all-in-one thing. And so you can say AI is that shift, but then you also have to explain why HubSpot and Salesforce and all these companies who are aware of that shift aren't going to be acting on it as well.
All right, thank you. Next one. These are great.
Also, can you not put pizza on the floor and drop the dogs?
Yes, warning. The dog is looking for pizza. Please don't give her pizza. Her mouth, you can see it's kind of red. She's got a little pizza sauce on her face. She's very happy. Best class ever. But all right, go on.
Let me begin with a question. How many of us have cold applied to a firm and been rejected? So should be almost all of us here, hopefully, including myself, or not hopefully. But many people give advice to actually network with firms beforehand to try to get your foot in the door. So how many of us have spent hours on hours spending emails and just been ghosted? Quite a few. This is quite too often of a narrative for college students trying to recruit in this tough job market. My name is Abdullah Osman, and having gone through the tech investment banking and tech private equity recruiting cycle last year, I realized that I was spending too much time simply sending emails and trying to get in contact with people to even get a chance at an interview. I was spending anywhere between 5 to 10 hours a week simply finding people on LinkedIn to reach out to, drafting personalized emails for those people, then making sure of any grammatical errors in my emails, manually inputting my calendar availability into the email while keeping track of following up, all the while keeping track of everything in a very messy Excel spreadsheet. Now, after going through recruitment and successfully landed a private equity offer on the West Coast, I realized that all that tedious networking chaos that I went through, that time could have been spent actually spending time around interview prep, or just taking a break, or spending time on an actual call prep. Which is why I built the Next Step, a recruitment-focused CRM that is built for students by students. With Next Step, now I can actually put in my resume, my LinkedIn profile, and my hobbies, and also put in the different firms and locations that I want to recruit at. And Next Step will tell me which people I should be reaching out to at these various firms. It will create a personalized email for me for each of those contacts, and also allow me to keep track of the contacts and follow up every single week, as well as draft replies for me automatically too. On top of that, it actually syncs with my schedule and my Google Calendar, so it can easily input those available times for me for a good call in the networking email directly, instead of me manually typing it every single time. Monday, these days, Tuesday, these days, you get the point. And lastly, it also allows me to keep track of all my traction across firms in a CRM dashboard, where I can see where I have made traction at and which firms I should be networking more with. So, with Next Step, you can take your future back into your hands. Instead of wasting job application upon job application, instead of wasting time networking and that networking not going through, with Next Step, you can take the next step towards your job offer and a successful career. Thank you.
All right, that was really good. And this was a good story that could be better. It wasn't just a list of features, but it's still like there's stories are a spectrum. And so at the very beginning, for example, you were like saying, I have to maintain lots of spreadsheets, and I'm going to get some of this wrong, but I have to maintain lots of spreadsheets, and I have to keep track of who to follow up with, and every time I respond to an email, I have to, fill in over and over again how many, what my availability is. So you're kind of telling an experience, but you're kind of describing an experience. You're still not telling a story. And so I'm just riffing on it, trying to make a story of it. So I open up my inbox, and I've got 45 different emails that are replies to all the different, so I go to LinkedIn, and I sign up for something, and I didn't realize it, but I checked this box that actually made it like apply for like every job that it possibly could. And I come back to my inbox, and there's 100 different emails in there, and I can't tell which ones are really important, and which ones aren't, and which ones are rejecting me, or which ones I want to work with. So I spend like 2 hours clicking through each one, and I click on the first one, and I have to look and figure out, is this like a good one or a bad one? They each kind of ask different questions. So a lot of them want to, the good ones want to schedule a follow-up meeting. So for each of those, I have to go look at my calendar, see between the dates they suggested, and which I have available, figure which ones I can go to, paste that in, and then go to the next email and start it all over again. And with like 100 different emails, like this took a couple hours. Like I was cross-eyed by the end of it, and probably made some mistakes and wasn't sending the best emails that I could. And so it's really wasted a lot of time. And I probably missed out on some that I probably would have applied to or gone to. And so then I got Next Step. And I heard about this website, Next Step, from my roommate. I looked at my roommate's shoulder, and he was on this website, Next Step. And I was like, what are you doing? And he all he did was connect Next Step to his email, and it knew which emails were from recruiters or not, even if, I don't know how. And somehow it read all the emails, and it could figure out which ones I needed to respond to or which ones I didn't. It knew what kinds of things they were asking me for and when, and it showed me a dashboard. It gave me a list of all the ones that were good and which ones were bad and which ones to respond to. And then I checked off all the ones that I thought I wanted to meet with, and it automatically composed an email for me for each one of them with a nice response that I could change and exactly the dates that I could go meet. And all I had to do was basically look at it and go send, 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 send. And something that took 4 hours before took about 35 minutes. And so now every time I want to go do that because I don't want to waste another 3 hours clicking through all this stuff going cross-eyed when I could just do it faster and probably not miss out on some important job. So again, not perfect or anything, but you see how it's I was more telling a story of me doing it, not describing it. And I don't know if that distinction's being clear, but that's what makes it a story is whether it's you or somebody else, it's literally it's a book, it's a story. What happens? Tell them first this happens, then that happens, and then this happens. So. Good job.
I'll just leave you with this. I didn't really understand what was particularly unique about the feature sets or value proposition relative to so many other kind of job recruiting, job seeking related apps. I heard you very much say for students, by students. I just don't really know why it's superior. At the end of the day, you just want one qualified meeting. I think you probably care less about if the calendar event automatically populates, help me get qualified meetings and simplify that process. It wasn't clear to me why you do that better than any other particular app. So that's what's it up.
All right, great job. We got 3 more? All right, that sounds about the right amount of time, so we're going to cut it off there, and it's great. I'm glad we had so many people lined up. Thanks for doing that. Remember, if you go to pitch.longhornstartup.com and sign up for the class, then you can make sure you get a spot. It makes my life a little easier.
Hey everyone, my name is Atarv, and just by a show of hands, how many of you guys have thought about your home foundation last weekend? Yeah, so clearly most of us don't really think about our home foundation. But I was actually really surprised because about 1 in 4 households face structural issues, with the majority of them being foundation home issues. And I know for me, I remember I was helping my dad out in the garage. He asked me to find some drill bits, and I remember opening the cabinets, looking through the drawers, and I remember looking up and noticing some cracks in the ceiling. Now, obviously, these weren't really big cracks. They were small cracks, but they were noticeable. And I remember thinking that was really interesting, and as I walked through the rest of my home, I noticed that there were more and more cracks throughout my house. And so I was really curious, and I began researching what exactly caused these cracks. And I soon realized that it was because I lived in a foundation home. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what the foundation of a home is, you can kind of think of it like a sponge in which the soil absorbs water. And because of gravity and the weight of your house, it causes imbalances over time. And these imbalances create cracks throughout your house. And ultimately, homeowners pay tens of thousands of dollars just to fix these foundation home issues. And so I began researching for some type of solution out there. And because most of them were expensive, I sought out to develop something of my own. And so after researching, I built my own prototype of a sensor that you place around your house. It's encapsulated in a custom-built shell, and so it's durable from all types of weather. And it's really easy to install around your house. And what happens is it collects data on the quality of your foundation. And so now what you can do on the software side is I had to collect all of that data, and it provided me data analytics on exactly what the status was of my foundation. And even better, it provided recommendations on what parts of my foundation I need to monitor and supply water to. And what I thought was the coolest part about all of this was I was even able to connect it to my smart sprinkler system, so that now I don't even have to worry about my foundation system. And in the background, my software is running, and it's connected to these smart sprinklers that are always monitoring my foundation and watering them. And so ultimately, this was the difference between tens of thousands of dollars and just having a nice peace of mind as a homeowner. And I think just like looking forward, I hope that one, when you guys are looking for houses, obviously make sure that the foundation is sound and the structure is sound. But also two, realize that a foundation sensor system could be the difference between tens of thousands of dollars and your peace of mind. Thank you.
That was a great pitch too. Really good, really clear. You're a great speaker, and clearly you practiced a lot. I could see the story that you were kind of pulling together. And again, I just think the more you can make it personal, the better. Like, sometimes you can kind of make up a story, but it's basically like, you know, someone I know, my friend was telling me about this. We're a terrible nightmare story. They bought this home, they moved in, and thought everything was great. And then, you kind of did it with walking around finding the cracks. It's better if you can make it like a bigger problem than just I found cracks and I researched them, but like nothing happened. There are horror stories about that. So you want to find one of those horror stories. And you're like, how could you have known that there was a problem, right? Or like maybe like another example might be something that happened that like caused a big problem, but would have been much better if it could have been detected earlier. And so you just say like, wow, this thing happened. This person was at their house, and suddenly with this crack, it didn't look like a big deal. And then what do you know? Like, a month later, they're not allowed to live in their home, and like blah 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 or whatever. And then you say, but I was over at my other friend's house, and I noticed. I don't know if you can see these things, but I noticed this sensor or whatever, and I asked him what it was. Or like he was sitting next to me, and like suddenly his phone beeped, and I looked at it, and I was like, what is that? And it was like this notification from his house. Like, it was like a Fitbit for your house foundation. Like, like telling him like, hey, like you should be careful. There's too much water in the soil right now, and you should make sure to turn off your sprinklers because it's going to damage your foundation. And, again, so you can tie that back to like maybe the thing in the original thing is like them finding all this water damage to the foundation. And again, just, kind of tying that story together tighter. And making it without, you're not trying to lie, but like you want to ideally like it's a story. Like just make up a story about that person and the other, and as you do it more and more, you'll be able to find real stories. Like in
Yes, and the pain is like when you repair a foundation, how many tens of thousands of dollars does it cost? Like you failed, and like these are very painful. You have to go through that. So even if it's the story about you repairing the foundation, the utter shock and unpreparedness of that cost, that you go through, like it can cripple a family at the end of the day. Like that's the pain. And then I think it would be really helpful to find a way to finesse talking about the market, like how many houses, how old are homes before they all begin to, like this becomes a big priority. And so like, is this just like one person in this room, or is like, are we all going to have this problem? Like it was a little hard for me to tell. So I think you can just set the stage with like, every house eventually by one point, or kind of set the market for how big of a problem it really is, not just kind of a random one-off.
Awesome. All right, two more.
Thank you.
No pressure.
Does anyone remember their high school prom? I do. Why in particular? Because I didn't have a date. Yeah, everyone say boo. Boo. That was tough for me. But the great thing is what my friends did. Oh, I was so excited for them. We had a group of 20. 20 people, prom. Remember prom? First you have to go get dinner with your friends, get a reservation, then you need a party bus, or is it Fetty better? Or maybe in an Uber, and then after that we have to go to take pictures at a park, have to get park pictures to go down to the actual venue. After the venue is done, we have to go get an Airbnb. So there's a lot of coordination, a lot of different locations that we had to go. The biggest problem was that we have like so many dietary restrictions. My friend Moria, she's vegetarian, but pescatarian like right before the event. All my friends is gluten-free. So the second we said, oh, we're gonna go get sushi or something, she was like, the rice is, I can't eat it. I was like, okay, perfect. And then going through open table for reservations, one of the most nightmarish experiences you'll ever have. What time? Okay, 7 p.m. for 6. Now to call to make a reservation, put your card down, because if you don't show up one person, I'm gonna charge you for the entire, it was an absolute nightmare just getting all those booked. That was the issue. So event planning in general is broken. And right now, everything's just spread across too many apps. You need Open Table for reservations. The Open Table wants you to book them like immediately, so you need to go to Yelp for reviews, and then go to multiple locations. Make sure you get Google Maps out to make sure that your restaurant's right next to the venue for prom, and after that, make sure you take a Fetty. But if you have like over like 7, 8, 9, 10, make sure you take a party bus. And then, oh my gosh, the worst part, Venmo. If you have to ask Venmo request someone for like $2, be like, hey, oop, $2, and they're like, oh, it's $2, and you're like, oh yeah, but across 20 people, and they're like, oh, it's $2. Nightmare, absolute nightmare, having to get all that back. No one app connects at all, and nothing adapts dynamically when plans change. If someone's like, I'm gonna go hop 6, and you're like, wait, but we already booked, oh, nightmare. Again, another problem. The solution, what if planning a night out was as easy as booking a vacation on Expedia, right? Expedia, I could book flights, a hotel, and transportation at the same time. I'm like, oh, let me go to Delta Airlines and Southwestern and make sure I'm going to the Wynn in Las Vegas and after. No, it's all in one application. And why can't you do the exact same thing on one app? Why can't I make a reservation, transportation, look at reviews and directions, and split costs all in one dynamic platform? Another example might thinking, oh, it's just for sorority girls and their date nights or prom. But also, my sister's like best friend just got married. I want to say congratulations. So she had a bachelorette party, and the biggest problem is just kind of marrying a slightish, like high-profile person. So she didn't want like a party planner doing it. And their younger sister was her maid of honor, but she was in high school and she was 21. So they went to New Mexico, which is so fun for them. But the problem was first they had to make their reservation, and they're going to multiple locations. They were hopping cars, and they're going to Ubers. And people wanted to leave, and it was such an issue for her because she just wished, oh my goodness, what if I had an app that could just coordinate all this for me, so I didn't have to worry about it? Or about your graduation, where you pick up Mima from the airport, and then make sure the restaurant you have has high tables for your little cousin Susie. Also, going to the media center. At least I like to have fun, so I'm going to dinner first, then I'm going to the event. Then I'm worried about parking in the valley. But is it cheaper for me just to drive and park far away and then walk? Those are all considerations that make hosting any event the worst, which is why this app would fix it. This just isn't about convenience, it's about making the memories. It takes the hassle out of all the planning. It saves money by comparing and bundling different options. It works for high school proms, weddings, sorority formals, graduations, concerts, and beyond. And if Expedia can simplify booking a whole vacation, why can't we do the same for planning a single night out? This platform transforms chaos into connection, so you don't just have to plan events, you can actually enjoy them. Thank you.
I can tell that your energy and your enthusiasm is your superpower. There's a fine line between nailing that and chaos. And there were enough examples, and I found myself like you pulling me a little bit just here and there and just across the pitch. But if you can harness that, which you did several times with your pitch, like that enthusiasm and energy is contagious. It sells people. It's your biggest superpower, and don't slip into pulling people too hard with too many examples across too many places, because it gets a little hard to follow. It gets fast, like that's your energy, but if you could just harness and keep it a little bit more focused, I think you'll nail that.
Yeah, I really agree. Your energy's great, and the excitement's great, and the story part, especially at the beginning, was great. Although you also still kind of fell into a little description at the end. But you were like exasperated and out of breath the whole time. You were like, and it was like going so hard, and like that's good energy to bring for like a period of time, like part of the pitch, and then you need to like, all right, take a breath, and like at some point, like honestly, you can't even like understand everything you're saying because again, it's just going so fast and it becomes so much. And you gave so many examples that it's just like honestly, I was like, all right, I get it. Like you give me like 4 or 5 examples of this. Like I need 1 or 2 examples, and then go more into like the example of for me, like how it really works when you've got it. So I think it was really good. Like you've got a ton of great stuff to work with. I think the idea, just quickly on the idea side of it, it's interesting. I think 2 things I'd be thinking about right now. One, while this doesn't sound exactly like it, I will tell you that I've been teaching this class for more than 15 years, and every single semester, at least one, if not multiple people, pitches help me figure out where to go out tonight, or who to go out with tonight, or like, it's a very big college kid problem, but it is like not turned out to be a business yet. And so, right? So yeah, it's an opportunity, and yet like, so I don't know, think about that one. But we've got a lot of those in our class. And then the second thing, and yours is a little different, they're all a little different. And the second thing is, when you compare it to booking a hotel and an airplane and all that stuff, there is like, and something you're gonna have to address in that pitch is that part of the reason why right now that works, and they did that first, is a hotel and a plane and a car cost like about $2,000. And like go out with my friends for their drinks tonight costs like $200, right? And so that's part of why that's so exciting and more worth it than to go do all that, is because like there's a lot of money there, right? And so it doesn't mean this isn't worth it, but like you're gonna have to kind of like that when you compare that, I would like think about what are the economics. Cool. All right, one more. Exciting. Great job today, everybody.
Hey guys, I'm Caroline, and I'm going to tell you about Theo. So Theo is a first grader. He's one of my students, and we're in class, and today he's going to build a car. He's super excited. He has all the paper and materials right in front of him, and then he has a million ideas. He tries one. It doesn't work. He tries the next one. Doesn't get that one to work either. He turns to me and he says, Miss Caroline, I don't know what to do. I tried all my ideas, and none of them work. I'm just going to give up. Can you build it for me? My heart hurt. I can't believe that he had so many ideas and he had so much hope, and then he just gave it all up when it didn't work out. This is the problem with kids today. We need more ways to foster creativity and innovation so they can take it into their own hands and they can learn to be more creative. It's a skill you learn, it's not something that you have. So my solution is Oakley's Adventures. It's an interactive kids book. It's a book where it will prompt the kids as they're going through the book to interact and draw and help the main character along so they get to be a part of creating the story. So this changes kids from passive readers into active creators. Did you know that 50% of parents buy a book for their kids every single month? That's a lot of kids' books that parents are buying. Also, 93% of parents believe it's important for their kids to be involved in productive forms of play. Well, I went to a community event and I took Oakley's Adventures with me, and the parents absolutely loved it. I got 40 emails, all of parents ready and excited to buy the book. One of the reasons parents love Oakley Adventures is because they get a keepsake. After the kid's done drawing in the book, they get to read it every night and get to look through all the photos and drawings that their kids have made. Kids love Oakley's Adventures because they get a book that they help create and they get to help the main character along. Oakley's Adventures isn't a book. It's the first chapter in a brand dedicated to raising a new generation of creators. With $100, I'm going to get Oakley's Adventures into the hands of kids in an awesome community. We've built the story, now we're asking you for help to put Oakley's Adventures in the hands of kids everywhere. Thank you.
That was great. And really great job. I think it's really, your pitch was really good. You practiced it, you told a great story of like what it's like and what some of the pain points were. think, I think it's really interesting. There's two companies that I've worked with that you should look up and that have, like, might be interesting partners or distribution channels or just things to learn from. One is called Bri Books, B-R-I Books, and they're mostly international, but what they do is it's similar, but it's different. It's more like a system to let kids write their own books and publish them, doing very well. So there's probably some interesting things to learn there. And then another one is Love Every. It's like a early childhood subscription type of thing where they have play sets and things when they're really little, but then it's books and other things like that too, and they publish a lot of their own books. I thought that was really cool. I think the idea is super interesting. It makes me think, you may not remember these things because I'm old, but like there's like books that were called Mad Libs where you like fill in the blanks words. You would like give you a sentence, but blanks were empty, and so you could like, give me a noun, give me this, give me that, and you like fill it in and you get a story. And then there were also these old like choose your own adventure books where like at certain pages like you could choose, do you go to this direction or this direction, you know, like just go to a different page. And so like these were like the old school ways of like making your own story, like doing your own thing, and we can do so much more now, right? That's so much cooler, so much more personalized. So I think that's really interesting. Awesome. All right, great job. Thank you. All right, so no thumbs up today. We do have. Oh wait, where's Sarah? We have $100 bill from last week. Good job. It's real. Another $100 bill for this week, which I think is going to go to the second last one before her. No, not the second last one. The one, not Sarah. The one before that. Man, I'm supposed to make this now. Raise your hand. Who was the third one before that? What was your one?
The foundation.
Yes, you told a great story for it, so you're gonna get the other $100. It's not a thumbs up, but some people like that. All right, so free pizza, $100. Small credit for class. It's not a bad class. Now we're gonna do demos from what you built last week. So for those that of the guests that are here, we're building up to a little bit more free-form assignments. This, I think I've told some of you, a lot of this was inspired by Gauntlet, the AI boot camp. And the assignment this week was to build a ChatGPT agent action that looks at their calendar and their emails and maybe other things to pull out assignments and kind of like send them like a prep for the day. Like, here's what classes you have, here's what things are due, here's what things you should be thinking about, and maybe more than that. And so we asked them to do that and set it up to run every day for themselves. There's bonus points if they could get it to email them or to do more integrations as well. So for the next kind of like 25 minutes or so, we are going to ask for volunteers to line up again. I don't know if we've lined up any ready in advance, to come up or actually plug your computer in with Anjali and show us like just a quick demo of what you built. And like here's the output. So I would start with that. Like, here's what it spits out, and kind of just show it to us and explain what it's telling you and why that's useful. And then maybe talk a little bit about like what kind of things you told it to look for. And then I'm hoping that as we see different ones, some people will be like, you'll be like, oh well, like you'll notice like, oh, this is obviously different about mine. Like I did this, and I haven't seen this one yet, right? Or things like that. Or maybe they'll all be exactly the same. But yeah. So all right. Do we have volunteers? Do we want to line people up? We have 5 people to start. Come line up on the side, like with the pitches. Maybe people who didn't pitch yet.
like we can just dive in. This
Say your
is.
name again.
Oh, I'm Sojo Gonzalez. Hello.
Thanks for doing the first one.
Yes, of course. So this is Daymaker, and essentially what it is a way where I have, it's basically a personal assistant. I actually have, if y'all have ever been to Tiny Box, wait, is it Tiny Box? Or, don't know that restaurant? They have these amazing cookies. Anyway, and I love them, and we call them Daymakers, and this was like a name, anyway. But yeah, essentially what it is it's a way that it sends me a bunch of information. I ask me a list of curated questions to where I can give you, and it gives me, and then I give it, and then it makes a daily debriefing, as well as it sends different notifications via my calendar. It searches different due dates. So I'm trying to think, does anyone have a prompt that we want to give it? Does anyone have any ideas from anyone?
What assignments are due today?
Okay, so
Sorry, what is it connecting to?
Sorry?
What is it connected to?
I'll just say what assignments are coming up.
No.
Yeah, so it was kind of a wild, roundabout way because right now ChatGPT, it doesn't have like a way where you can directly link Canvas to it. So you have to find a new way to get the URL and then code it in a different way to be able to do it. So now I linked it to my Google Calendar, so it's gonna look at it through my Google Calendar. So I also have different emojis. So like if you look, you see the little book emoji right here? This is basically I asked it, say, okay, what do I need to start? Because I'm a procrastinator. And so I said, if it gives me a book emoji, that knows, okay, it's coming in a few days, but it's not due yet. And then anything with a little hazard sign, that means it's due today. Like, dude, you gotta do it, lock in. And then if it's an X, it's like, oh, game over, it's already dead. But sometimes there's redemption. So that's a really cool way that, like, when I'm reading through this, sometimes the words just kind of get blurry. So that was a way that I could kind of look at this and be like, okay, my eyes are immediately going to write the deadlines. And then I'm looking to everything else that is still, like I still need to do and I have time to work at. So it keeps me ahead of schedule. I set it to give me 2 to 3 days before it's due. And then it also has a schedule. So every Sunday it'll say, hey, what do we have going on this week? And I give it a prompt. And let me ask it, like, I'm trying to think of, because I gave it this like mental health exercise. Sorry, did you
But
explain?
I think you said this, and I believe this is the right, or should be the easiest right way to do it. But you subscribed in Google Calendar to your Canvas calendar, so
Yes.
that you see Canvas in Google.
Correct.
And then now you should be able to say, look on my Google Calendar, is all you
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And tell me what
Yes.
what assignments are due or
Mhm.
something else.
Yes.
So, in this case, it didn't really answer because it kind of like seems like it got confused and didn't connect to anything.
Yes. So what you have to
You need to say like what assignments are coming up. Like look at my email and my
Yeah.
calendar and tell me what assignments are coming up.
Yeah.
Is it one
So
of your apps? Like,
yes, well, and it's weird because in Google Calendar, there's now ways where there's boxes, and so how I was able to do this is you have to make a new inbox, I think is what it's called. So I think that's something I was trying to figure out because I don't know how to keep it selected because it automatically unselects, and so I think what's happening is when you send this, you need to set some internal signal that says, hey, like always, because if it's not on, it's like, oh, nothing's due, but that's honestly not correct. So we can should we try to figure that out right now, or I can talk about other features, or do you want me to retry it?
Something else, yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So let me talk more about how it sends me. So every Sunday night, like I said, it'll say, hey, what do you have going on? What are the major assignments due? What are the due dates? And then I don't have to be like, okay, so that means I have to start it, Monday if it's due Wednesday, right? It's gonna automatically be like, hey, you need to start working on this today, right? Because procrastinator me. And then each day it'll check at 5 p.m. to see how many things I have checked off, and it'll send me a checkbox to see so I can automatically click, and then everything that's not clicked will automatically be bumped to the next day.
Tell me to do that.
Yeah, how do I ask? Because I haven't given it, like,
It does it
the
on a
due date.
schedule.
Huh?
It does it like on a schedule.
It is on
I
schedule.
think you just say like whatever you called it, like do it again right now.
Okay, what do you mean?
Like is it in like another chat? And
we see your GPT instructions?
Yeah. Oh, how do I? Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. In here? I don't actually. Just okay. Edit. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, wait. Let me see.
And configure.
Configure. Configure. Okay. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see.
Is this the data one? Yeah.
No, this, you're right. This is the incorrect one. Thank you for clarifying. I was like, something's really not right. Okay. Here we are. So here it is, a structured, fun, yet personal assistant that goes through users' week and delivers daily briefs each morning at 7:30 a.m. CST, drafts and delivers an email-friendly briefing, summarizes schedule, highlights. It also has top priorities. And so for each of those priorities, I even made it more engaging, and I called them, I think I called them like to priorities, top, like I made these funny things, and then I have like instead of a like Saturday recap, I call it a Sattercap. And so it'll be like, hey, you hit all these goals, but you're inconsistent. Like, let's see, it probably says it later. But it talks about, yeah, so these are my categories right here. So deadlines, meetings, cast, music. I'm music composer, so a lot of music rehearsals, which also tells me, okay, I need to practice, you know, X not enough hours before. Hobbies, I also give it like, hey, I don't just want to work. I want to have like a full holistic, you know, whole healthy week. And then
This is awesome. So, but were you able to get it to run and show you results?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you make it do it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a prompt. Be like, hey, give me.
Or like, give me the same report you would give me on Sunday morning or on Sunday.
Okay. Give me a.
Maybe I don't know.
Damn. Or I should do it. Do the report on Saturday. Let's see. Already see that. Yeah. So here it is. It's kind of breaking down again. It's telling me, yay, I submitted this not early. Also, I told it like, I also want to be able to track. Like this is an example of not early. Because if it was early, it would give me the books emoji. But it's saying you did it right before. So again, it's trying to help me beat my procrastination. It tells me, oh, worked out 4 days in a row, new streak. It also has a streak system. So it'll tell you, hey, like you're on a 3-day streak. Like let's continue. And it'll give me like little daily. I asked it for quotes. I know, cringe. And then yeah, sent 2 important follow-up emails. Collected errands. It gives me these specific things. Trying to look at. Oh yeah, this is a really important one. So I asked it to give me like how many tasks did I get to do, like just an overall number. So it'll track. Okay, I did this many days, and again, it sends me at 5 p.m. every day a checklist, so I can just automatically say I did this, and it'll just keep going.
Okay, this is awesome. You did a great job. Is there anything else you want to make sure we see?
I mean, it also helps. There's a reflection part of it too. On Sunday, it'll ask, you know, hey, what could you grow? What could you do better? And then I'll tell it, and then I'll say, okay, why don't you try this new thing? So it's like some change because I need change. So thank you.
Is it sending it to you? Do you look at it?
Yeah, like I mean, it created it this week, so I'm still learning what to give it. So that, but this is.
Okay, so can you scroll? Can you hit the instructions at the bottom right of that, the expand window, so we can see all your instructions? In the instructions box on the left, yes, where Josh is pointing.
Sorry, wait. Oh, I see.
And then can you scroll to the bottom?
Yeah.
Where you can date checklist, reading functions, monthly function, exercise statement. Yeah, all right, cool. So it seems to me now it's been about 6 months since I've used custom GPTs, but there's still some inefficiencies with how they deal with external data. So it seems like you were using the GPT right now to test the agent functionality, but it actually responds different when it's prompted by you versus when it's doing the agent thing. So the 2 things I would suggest doing is have in this separate instructions for the when interacting, not separate, do this. If calendar is empty, present X. If not empty, do this. But when interacting with the GPT, it often needs surprisingly specific instructions, which it can actually make for you. You can say generate specific instructions, and it can do that. And then for the agent part, just making clear that those are agent instructions as well, because they'll function somewhat differently.
So you're saying if it doesn't do this thing, instead do this? Is it like if there's nothing to do? Is it
When instructing it on how to interact in a custom GPT window, which is separate from how it emails you what the agent does, I would tell it how you want your answers to be answered, because otherwise it's going to give you something generic. But you can say, if I have a week of mostly class assignments, and then give me emphasize my free time, versus if I have a lot of free time, tell me how to catch up on classes, or only list things in 45-minute increments. But the idea being, you kind of know how you're going to prompt this thing anyway, so you can put a lot of that in custom GPT, but make sure that within the instruction set that you say, this is not part of the agent functionality, this is when interacting as a custom GPT.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
This is a great job. Another benefit of going first is easier to impress. That was a thumbs up. I'm super impressed. That was a great job. I don't know what we're going to see next, but that was awesome. So you get a thumbs up. Anjali will mark down. You have to get one thumbs up. Yeah, they can pitch.
Hi everybody, I'm Martin Rincon. What I did a little bit different is not only did I put the calendar into my chat.
I'm sorry, real quick. Can you make this just the text bigger?
Alright.
Zoom in. Yeah, perfect. Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great.
So not only did I include the calendar, I also added all the syllabuses for the classes that I had. So that really helped. And also I had the ChatGPT help me with this little icon just to get me motivated. I actually programmed it to talk more like a life coach, more positive, and what was the other big thing? Although it was working literally last night, for some reason it's not hooked up to the calendar anymore, but it still remembers some things. I'm not sure what happened, but you know. Anyway, let's do a send briefing. Documents. And is this normal? It's just thinking?
GPT-5 is normal. Everything I ask it to do takes a while. It's okay.
And what's the, so when it does, do you feel like it does a little bit better job if you just go auto instead of thinking mode?
I don't know. What do you think, Phil? I don't know that answer.
So thinking is, when
I'm
it
usually
says
not in a hurry, so I just usually tell it to do the hardest thing.
Yeah, I guess I have the opposite way, where I'll put it into instant mode, because I don't want it to like go into thinking or like auto to try to do it when I have like 4 questions. Thinking is always going to take a while. Auto, it's going to try to figure it out, so you're not sure what you're going to get. But for like simple questions, stick it in instant.
Oh, okay.
Like instant, if you don't like the answer, go to research.
Yeah, then you go for the longer one.
So the general rule of thumb that I teach is it depends on the accuracy that you require. So reasoning models branch. They look at what they write and they're able to figure stuff out. And they obviously take a much longer time. Your send briefing would probably be best as the regular one with one exception, and it depends on the amount of data that goes into your briefing. If it's a lot and it's sort of nitty-gritty, like really in the weeds types of data that can get complex, then you probably do want the thinking, but that's about the generation of the brief itself. If there's not a lot of data, the likelihood that it'll get something wrong is pretty low. So thinking.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like you're checking a lot of stuff. Every time in like the progress thing in an app, you see this, it's just fake stuff. It's like, you know, like building sending emails, like, like sending, like connecting the bits.
Oh, I think I know what it's doing now. What,
These are all like real things.
I did press send briefing, so what it's doing is actually making all the HTML for the briefing right now.
Is it gonna, well, there it goes, see?
So it's gonna start doing this
I
stuff.
don't mind it thinking, it's okay.
But I can do something simple like,
Don't stop it.
what quizzes do I have in Jeff?
But before you hit go,
Yeah, I'm gonna wait.
Just tell us what it just did before you do that. Show us what it, I don't understand what it just did.
All this?
Yeah,
So
what is all that?
This is creating the HTML for the email client. So basically, supposedly, I copy this, put it into an email, and then once I send it, it'll format for me automatically. And then, so I was having trouble last
And then
night.
you're gonna cut and paste that in the email?
No, I never did that because I was able to, it would give me like a generic briefing. So I would do this, and it would give me my briefing. And then it would say, hey, this is how you put all that information into the email.
Oh, nice. You just got a compose link, you're like, boom. Click it and it'll send it. Alright, now you go, sorry. I missed that. I guess it's still going. Unless you stop it.
So let's just see, what quizzes do I have in Jeff?
What quizzes do I have to see? Yeah.
Because it literally typed this in here.
You can always put it on auto if you don't want to have to decide.
Verifying the conjunction.
Yep. Japanese.
Solving world peace.
Funny.
Finding dark matter.
Here's your Japanese quiz lineup for this week. Monday, and then today we had the kanji quiz, grammar quiz, another kanji. Oh man, another kanji quiz. Yeah.
We need to start doing quizzes every day.
And here's it. Crush it. Little bites of vocab and kanji each day, and you'll breeze through it. So that was nice. But I think the real breakthrough is putting all those syllabuses in there. Really, really helped. See, I'm just gonna try something real quick. Specifically, what I'm doing today in terms of like the homework or the readings, the quizzes or whatever, and having this actually be helpful. Doing it the 2 hours that I had. Because I don't want to have to go back to Canvas and look and think, okay, I forgot. But now that it's all in the ChatGPT, you just do like that.
Awesome, great job. All right, next up. Probably the time-wise last one. This is looking okay. We're still figuring out how many demos we can do today. Things like that. By the way, it's also a great if you're not a coder, or you're not someone that's maybe a little more intimidated
the building stuff, this is a good way to figure out who you should go work with. Like, you can see who's building stuff, you know, like, and like, you can see who's good at pitching stuff, if you're good at building stuff, you know, like, so like, don't think you gotta go do it all by yourself. It's one of the great things about being in something like this, is to find the other people that are good.
Alright, cool. So for me, it's just kind of like how I organize my setup. Like my calendar, if you look to the left, I have like a lot of calendars. I organize it like by the specific thing. Yeah, that's how I am.
You speak my love language.
So like for example, I have like
you see this?
So I have a calendar just for like my classes, my ECs, like office hours for my classes. And another thing I have is like this cool app called like To-Do List. I think it's free. I mean, you guys have probably heard about it. And so you can put like different reminders. So just for the sake of this, I just put some placeholder values. So like, oh, there's some startup club applications due today, and then I got a meeting with Jeff Bezos at 10 p.m. because I'm just tight with him like that. And then it's really cool because I've connected it to my Google Calendar, so it actually appears here. It has like the link to the to-do list task. So yeah, it's like this is kind of like my calendar here. And so the first thing I do then is I actually have it like list all of my calendars. Because like obviously I don't want to report with all of them all the time. I want to be able to choose. So in this case, like for this demo, I have it just pick my extracurriculars, my classes, office hours, and then just like to-do list tasks. And then I ask it to give me like a rundown report about that. So it just gives me like, you know, a simple timeline of what there is. And then it gives me some like reminders and tasks from to-do list. And then it also gives me some like conflicts I have. So like I can see here that I have some office hours that conflict, so I'm gonna have to like pick one of them. It tells me, you know, like when I have back-to-backs, like today I'm like really busy. So like, yeah. And then it also tells me like when I have like a focus slot. So today I just like have a 1 hour between 3 and 4, which is pretty helpful to know. And then what I also end up doing, because since it's like a daily report and it's gonna be sent to your inbox, so I was like, okay, like I think it makes sense to add weather. And so now what I did is I have it at like the weather here. It was like the today's weather in Austin, and then I also asked it to give them the markets, just like a quick snapshot. The problem is like this is kind of like in ChatGPT's like format. Like obviously like you have like this like they have like their own chart here. So what I do is I just like ask it to give me in like plain text. So that's what's here. And then I kind of misinterpreted this on it. I'm not sure if I did, but like it said to like send the email. So I use like this like Google API to like send, and I connected it with ChatGPT. So I just like ask it like.
Misinterpret it. That's like extra credit. I was maybe passing people that off.
Okay, cool. So then I ask it to send it as plain text. The reason why I do it as plain text is because like this is what it looks like with like the HTML. Like it's like so there's like these weird symbols. You can see the HTML tags down here. So I just ask it to send it as plain text to my email. And then if you go here, it's like this. I guess like, there's like still some formatting with the hashtags and stuff like that. But the concept's still there, and it basically just pastes everything from ChatGPT. And it's also kind of nice because now you can like ask it to automate it every morning. So now like I can ask it like every morning at 7, send me like an email with what I have today. Yeah.
Who else got it to send an email? I didn't figure it out yet. Like I know there's a bunch of ways, but I haven't had it working. So can you just show everybody like because that was a little bit to get it to look at your email, you can just say like connect to my look at my email, and it pops up and it's like log into your email. It's really easy. How do you get it to? But it won't send email, mostly because they don't want to make it too easy for you to spam people. So like make it like a little bit harder.
Yeah. So like with the I mean you can like connect it like I don't know what you're saying, but I think it's just like read only.
Right.
So I had to I created like a project here, and
wait, what are you in?
This is Google Cloud. So what I did, I created like it's called a Jarvis assistant. It's just like a project. And if I go to APIs and services, where to go? Well, basically what I did, I had like there's like a whole process. I created like a client ID. I had like a secret key as well, and I put that into my my assistant. Okay, let me put that real quick. Sorry. So it's like if I go to my keys.
So is the cloud process like basically like a listener that sits and listens for it to hit it, and it just knows how to send it?
Yeah. So like there's like like at the bottom there's like these actions here, and so like I can how would it new action? So like here you like add your API key, or I did OAuth here, and this is like where I put my Google services here, and then basically, and you also have to like a schema. AI helped me with that, but basically like for example, anytime it's like oh send an email, then, for example, we'll call this like Gmail API here. And let me see if I can like. So like here, like in the schema, like it shows like what method you have. So here it's like to send the email. But yeah, so like you have to like add on top of that to something else.
Okay, so when I have a computer science degree from 1999, so not really, I don't really program anything, but like I kind of can understand stuff when I see it, and then I like, you know, I can ask ChatGPT to like program, like write stuff for me and do stuff. So like I look at this, and I'm like, I don't like look, I'm not like, oh, I know how to do that. Like I don't really totally understand what he just did. And I've never put anything in Google Cloud, but I'm like, I can probably figure that out. I could like go to Google Cloud and ask ChatGPT, how do I set this up in Google Cloud? And I've got some vague idea of like what he did. How many people look at this and they're like, and I'm not expecting this to be most people, and they're like, oh my god, I totally get that. I could go do that. Higher hands. Okay, a bunch of you. Good. All right. How many people look at that like, I don't really get that, but I could probably figure it out? Okay, more of you. Okay. And I'm assuming the rest of you probably like, oh, that's kind of intimidating. I have no idea what that is. Okay. This is okay. We have a bunch of different people in the class. We have computer science students, we have engineering students, we have management students, we have communication students. That's okay. That's why you can get a thumbs up from pitching and you can get a thumbs up from coding. But part of me even doing these steps is I'm trying to figure out who's in the class and like what can you do and what's hard and what's easy. And so this is really helpful for me to kind of figure that out. So great job. That was really good. I'm impressed you got the email.
So I made a comment. There's a lesser way to do this. The ChatGPTs are kind of heavyweight. There's something called tasks in ChatGPT.
And so there are hidden features that get depreciated and whatever, so you don't see it on the menu, but you can write a query, and then you can say, run this every day at a certain time, and then you get an email, which is a link to the chat. And you also get something in your phone. So like every Monday morning, it looks at the Capital Factory events and sends me a list of all the AI events this week. And then also every Friday, I get a chat of all the hardware startup activities, so like a custom newsletter, and it's a rolling chat. So I see every week it gets updated with something. So it's not connected to my calendar or whatever, but you can.
It's like almost like an email thread that pops back up.
Yeah. So these reoccurring chats you want to run, you can just automate those.
That's how I'm doing it now. And so I just like literally I'm just in ChatGPT. I'm like every morning. Look at my email, check for these things, and let me know about this, this, and this, and format it this way, and blah, 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 blah. And I can come back later and be like, actually change the report to look like this. I'm going to have to tell it the whole thing again, right? Now, for me, it does what you said. It just sends an email that tells me to go look at ChatGPT, which I find really annoying. And so my next thing, which I don't have time to do, is I'd much rather have it send me an email and just have it be a report in my email. So, awesome. Well, hey, first of all, that was great. We're still learning as we go do this, and this is, this class is a little bit of an experiment, and I was super impressed. Those are all really, really good. Seriously, like really cool. And it's going to keep getting harder. Though I'm going to tell you the assignment for this week after Brian, and it's not like some crazy thing, but it's a lot harder. And we'll see what you guys can go do. Like I'm curious. I really want to see what comes out. But I don't know what it's going to look like next week. And then after that, it's going to be. It's not you can build whatever you want because I think constraints are good. But it's going to be, you have to pick one of the things that you'll have a lot to choose from. You'll pick from any of the things you heard pitched. And you can kind of set it up because you can have somebody pitch something you want to go build. So this is it's not that complicated. But basically you have to pick one of the things you heard pitched from the students, from the guest, or from me, and try to build it for the next week. So with that, I'm going to introduce Brian. Brian is one of my best friends. He's my co-founder and partner here at Capital Factory. We have a ton in common. Like he's better looking and has more hair. But if you he's basically like the me of Dallas. Like he lives in Dallas. He's a really active angel investor. He started companies and sold them. If the mayor puts together a competitor council on we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, they want Brian to go be part of it. We work in really similar roles. And when Capital Factory was growing, and we just started to think we're going to be more than Austin. We're going to go to Dallas and Houston and San Antonio and we're actually in Texas. Brian was really the first partner that I found in doing that, and I couldn't have been able to do it without him. And so he really took Capital Factory to that next stage of being all over Texas. And then also,
Capital Factory really was a software investor. Like, that's my background. I studied computer science. I knew about software and about SaaS. I thought SaaS was the ultimate business model that was never going to, nothing was going to ever be any better. The hardware was dead, impossible to invest in, and especially nothing that worked with government. And what do you know, like 10 years, 15 years later, it's the opposite of that. And Brian really led that as well. Like, Brian was like, we should go invest in this space company. And I'm like, we don't know shit about space. Like, why would we do that? And he's like, oh, look at this company. They're like putting like computers in people's brains. And I'm like, cool, but like, how do we invest in that? And like, like at the times, like, and a lot of other really cool stuff. And so he's really pushed us into that. And now those are like, honestly, like the coolest things we're doing, and they can work really well. And now those things are really hot to invest in. So Brian's really been an active investor. I'll also, like, when you think about Capital Factory and being a bunch of pieces, I do have a great job. I get to do all the different things, and I can kind of like focus on whatever I want to that day. Brian runs all the funds. Like, everybody that works with the funds or investments or anything like that rolls up to Brian. So yeah, I'm excited to have him here. He actually also Brian teaches a class up at UT Dallas. Again, we do a lot of things the same, but his class is a little different. What's cool about his class is you get to be a VC. And so the class is, we're going to give you money and let you evaluate a company and decide whether or not to invest in it, and kind of be a VC during the class. And so he's been running that for a while. So Brian's really great. And when I first met him, he was working on a startup called Fixed up in Dallas. And that was before we were doing Dallas and before like we were working together. And so the first way we met him is we invested, that's the reason he told the story, we invested in Fixed. And then eventually he sold it and then came here to work at Capital Factory. And so in kind of this, again, this is all this class is an experiment. But what I'm hoping to do, and so it looks like he's trying to do it, is because this was a long time ago for him, I'm like, I want you to come back and give us the Fixed pitch. Like your pitch when it was your startup. Like, just like you guys are getting up and doing. And then, I don't know if he's going to be able to do this, but I challenged him, I was like, and then give us a demo, like of Fixed, or like show us what it was like, or whatever, and then talk about it so that you could have some idea what to go build. And then you can talk to him a little bit about it, or about Capital Factory and investing and things like that. And we'll do that for, looks like we have about 30 minutes. And then we'll wrap with me telling you about the assignment, and you give me one more pitch. So with that, let me hand it off to Ryan. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Josh. It's really awesome to be here with y'all. I'll start with a quick story. So it's the beginning of August. It's 2004, and I get an invitation to Facebook.
To join that?
To join the app. Like, Facebook just launched outside of Harvard and some other select universities. It rolls out, starting to roll out selectively at some of the very first universities. Meet all my friends. It's August. I'm a freshman. I'm going into college. We're on Facebook. It took us, 30 days to figure out, like, this was going to change everything as a student. We certainly knew that all the students were starting to spend all of their time on Facebook. We did everything on Facebook. We ran events, we ran parties, we dated, we did everything that you could do. College students migrated to this private environment, and we began to do that. The bone to pick that I have to pick with education is that I went through all 4 of my years, and not one class, not one professor believed that this movement behind social media wasn't really the words that were being used to describe what was happening at the time, but every single student was on Facebook, every single student knew this was going to change everything. Professors didn't quite know it and understand it. They still taught a lot of traditional marketing. We didn't have classes that forced people to get on Facebook and build groups and run apps and build things on Facebook. That wasn't part of my higher education experience. I went through my entire 4 years, got a degree, got a couple degrees. One of them was in marketing. The word social media, the adoption and leaning into the movement behind social media, it didn't exist in higher education. Things changed a little bit slower back then than they do today, but one, I just want to point out that I think what you guys are doing, I think this class that I've watched Josh create, and he's bounced it off me a couple of times. I think it's the most important thing you guys are doing. I think to get up here and explore ideas, to put the tools in your hand, to try them, to be be on the bleeding edge, to have the confidence to come up here and pitch, and then get a bunch of feedback. Like this is the most important thing. Among the most important things you guys are going to do in college and walk away from, I think is going to push you guys in an awesome way. So one, I love what you guys are doing. I love that Josh is like the exact opposite of every professor that I took. It's like on the bleeding edge, forcing you guys to try things, forcing you guys to explore and build and demo and pitch. And I wish I could have had a class like that. I started a class that I wish I could have taken because venture capital and entrepreneurship, it just wasn't so celebrated back in 2004 in Dallas in particular. The schools that I graduated from, it was commonplace to go work at Lockheed Martin or Bell Helicopter or AT&T, and that was like really celebrated. I was never really overly inspired by the corporate career path, if you will. I always just like to build stuff, build companies. And so, anyways, that led me to this one. This was a lot of PTSD and scar tissue from building Fixed. Really tough business. I'm glad I'm out of it. I'm glad we survived it barely. But we built Fixed, and it is a better and more convenient, a better and more convenient way to manage your home. Home warranty is a really, really big problem. And I don't know that if any of you have got to own a home or have a home warranty, but it's just like a automotive home warranty, or it's like an automotive warranty. Nobody does a good job providing home warranties. In fact, it's so bad, it's not even, you don't even have to provide a good technical service. You just have to kind of suck less than American Home Shield. That's how bad the customer service is. In Texas, there's a particular rule regulated by the Texas Real Estate Investment, or the Texas Real Estate Commission. And when somebody buys a house, if you were buying my house, I'll use some round numbers, I sell it for $1 million, I don't collect $1 million. I collect $1 million less commissions to real estate agents, less the cost of title and closing, less the cost of a bunch of things get added up, and I'll get a net fee, and it might be $925,000 or whatever it ends up being. Well, one of those little line items, when a seller sells a new home to a buyer, and real estate agents are involved, is called an allocation for a home warranty. Those real estate agents and the seller, from their price of their home, they purchase a home warranty that occurs in the middle of the home transaction, and I wrap an insurance policy around the house for critical systems, just in case anything goes wrong. In the event you come to buy my house, and I have a bunk HVAC or an air conditioner, and I just pump enough Freon in there for 30 days, just to make sure it's cold, it passes inspection, and you buy my house, and guess what? Air conditioner's bad, you owe $25,000 to set up a new HVAC. That's what a home warranty protects. It protects the real estate agents, it protects the buyer from any issues that get discovered over the next year for critical systems in the home, because people will do some shady things when they're trying to sell and maximize their prices, and so that's what a home warranty is. It protects the home. So the home warranty market is an absolute racket. You get sold a home warranty, a lot of people buy them. Usually the first time people will experience with them, it's because they gifted one with the purchase of their new home. But it's such a problem, home warranty companies immediately hide. You just got a home warranty, guess what? I'm gonna hide out back here. You're gonna hear from me one time. When do you hear from me? When on the 365th day of you having this service, when it's time to renew. Guess what? Your policy's up, it's time to buy another policy. Would you like to pay monthly, or would you like to pay annually? And it's the home warranties company's job is to hide and make sure you don't know they exist. So you never call them when there's an issue, and that's called breakage in the business model. The more you don't call them, the more profits they get. They don't want you to call them. And that's the real big problem with home warranty. And when you do call them, there's all these terms and conditions that exist that said, oh, your hot water heater is out, oh, your HVAC is out, oh, that's covered under our labor warranties. Oh, but you failed to maintain the system because you didn't have somebody come up and do a 52-part tune-up or whatever they're going to say. Oh, you failed to do that, so unfortunately, we can't cover you now. So any possible way that a home warranty company can get out of actually providing that coverage, they're going to do it. And in fact, the industry has such a poor reputation that home warranty is still the number one, the worst rated home services category on Angie's list, Angie's Home Services, that there is across any other home service. That's how bad the service is with home warranty. Poor coverage, denied claims, upset customers, leads to bad ratings. And that's the classic game, and it just repeats. So, when you own a home, there's another really big problem that homeowners run into. Shit breaks. You're gonna have to fix things, like a lot, over time. Getting home service pros out to your house is really tricky. You never know who to trust. You don't know how to price them. I'll tell you how they price your service. They pull up to your house. They see what kind of zip code you're living in. They look at your house. They look at your cars. And then they give you your quote. And the number of times that we ran jobs to our own houses with third-party pros and third-party networks undercover and watched what happened when we knew what the results were, it was terrifying. This happens in a lot of industries. It especially happens in home services. So, if you haven't had a home yet, or you haven't had to deal with complicated home ownership issues, where you have pros coming out, you're in total trust. I hope I have the right person. I hope I have a reputable company. I hope they know what they're doing. I hope they're not lying to me. I hope they're not upselling me a bunch of things that I don't need. And this is the classic problem that happens every single time. If you can find somebody you trust and somebody that delivers great service, make sure you have their phone number. Keep using it. It's pretty rare. So it's a double-sided problem. Home warranties suck. We tried to build one that sucked a little bit less. It wasn't even to be great. Sucked less than American Home Shield because the market is a mess. And make sure we had reasonable assurances that we could find pros, we could get them to your house, and not have them upsell you things. That was generally our business model. So meet your new property manager, whether you had a home warranty or you just had an issue go wrong and you needed somebody to come out to your house and have fixed, you can request a service for regulated trade skills. We were not cleaning houses, we were not mowing lawns, we were not patching drywalls. These were regulated trade skills supported by regulated insurance products, HVAC, electric, plumbing, pool, spa, garage door. These are the things that are participate in, fall under home warranties and regulated insurance for home warranty, and those were the services that we were providing. So if you need one of those, you can use the app. We'll match you whether you have a home warranty. That means you were filing a claim, and if you didn't have a home warranty, you were just requesting a pro and you were going to pay in cash. We were a double-sided marketplace helping homeowners connect with highly rated technicians in HVAC, plumbing, appliances, a little bit of smart home. That was never really a meaningful part of our business: electric, pool, spa, garage door. Here's how it worked. You were able to open the app, simply request a service, schedule a time, track your pro, and pay when complete. All very similar to the simple apps that you use today to do the same basic things. But now you're able to run complex workflows around complex topics in your home and get somebody out there dispatched pretty quickly. So, as a result, we were able to take and manage all the jobs that were being filed, all the claims, and the reality is that the companies that get those requests, they know exactly what it should cost to replace a toilet, replace a flap, replace a seal, every single time. there's a standardized rate for standardized labor hours, and that's how every other pro gets paid, and that company is gonna find a way to frequently try to maximize what they charge you and the number of things that they can convince you to buy. As a result, we knew what things would cost. We have all of them modeled out. We built a giant taxonomy for every single part. We call it like the world's largest spreadsheet, but it was like millions of rows. And it was every single part, on every single appliance, the amount of repair hours, and we had this giant taxonomy. We knew what it would cost. So we knew how to make sure pros working on the app weren't creating excessive markups. We use these workflows to simply eliminate a couple of people that were built into a manual process. We didn't eliminate everybody, but we streamlined the process through basic apps and basic technology that allowed us to build a fast and efficient company. Ultimately, just trying to build a value proposition that homeowners would save money with us. And that's what we did at Fix. I'll stop there.
Perfect. I'm just going like, please put the slide. I'm using it. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, so do you guys want to ask Brian any questions about this?
I have some crazy stories.
Why was it hard?
Oh, God. Well,
That sounds easy.
yeah. Okay. The labor force on the side of the technicians and the labor force is a very difficult labor force. It's a very fragmented labor force. This particular market, we like to call two chucks in a truck. It's like there's like hundreds of thousands of them, and they represent a business, whether they're in HVAC or plumbing. They're not tech savvy. They don't adopt things quickly, and this industry is very siloed of lots of small, sometimes big players. You probably know the big ones, but you don't know the two chucks in a truck running around in the business, and they're just trying to survive. They're trying to keep the lights on. They're trying to find their next, their next opportunity. So the industry is incredibly fragmented. It's also fraught with problematic labor force. So the first 100 jobs that we ran through the app, like we were our own customers, and we were mystery shopping third-party pros that we onboarded onto our app. All you have to do is wait for the notifications. If you want that job that you're qualified to get as an HVAC tech, pick it up. Free labor, free work, go do the job. So we would do that. They would come out to our house. They would run the job. 100% tried to lie, cheat, and steal and cut Fix out. And we had a huge oh shit moment. We had to buy and launch a services company that would fully work 100% dedicated on the Fix platform, because we couldn't trust and rely on third-party pros and contractors to put their booties on, to show up in a collared shirt, to shut up and don't sell things that you don't need to sell. That was our problem. That was an expensive problem. That cost us millions of dollars, by the way, that we didn't plan for, we didn't anticipate for, because we made a bunch of assumptions and got it wrong, like they would do the things that they said. So that was probably the hardest part of it, was like managing the labor force. That's very difficult to manage. We got up to 120 technicians on staff, full time, and we had a lot of problems with them. They stole our vans. They stole our HVAC equipment. There were domestic violence cases. Like, this is an unfortunate problem with this labor force. I'm hopeful that it can change. I see a really big opportunity for trades going forward, but unfortunately, like, that was our experience, and it was very common. And so that's why I have the PTSD.
Was this a problem you specifically had when you found this idea? Were you working and dealing with homeowners at the time?
No. In fact, I tried to shut the business down a number of times. I started this business with my best friend from middle school. He had watched this. This was my first tech company that I got to be a part of. I was kind of like the only person that went through tech, was affiliated with some apps, like maybe had a little bit of success. And he came to me and he said, "Brian, I want to build an app that does this." I said, "Brandon, you're an idiot. You don't start building apps? No. This was like 2015 at the time, so it's just like, no, like you don't know anything about this, dude, you're crazy. And so he calls me, okay, but if we do it, you know, like we would do it like this, I think. And so like we just kept having more and more of these conversations, and then I realized why I should join and get fully on board with this, because we had a massive unfair competitive advantage. Brandon and Evan, my two co-founders, had a business that they built called JV and Associates, extended warranty for HVAC specifically. You buy a new piece of HVAC from Trane, it comes with a manufacturer parts guarantee. Oh, you know, a part of it goes out, no problem. Trane's gonna make sure they just replace that part. Well, guess what? Who's gonna do it? You gotta pay them. They don't do it for free. That's the labor part. So they sold the labor contracts, the extended service contracts that they attached to new HVAC equipment, and they grew a really big business. They started making some good money. They didn't need salaries, and I didn't need a salary. They had all the customers. They had all the HVAC technicians already in their network that they were working with. We had lawyers, accountants, phones, offices, all provided by this group, and cash flow, by the way. And so we got to start borrowing extra employee times from this particular company. They started working on our project, and that was the real unfair competitive advantage. Like we had access to all those things. We got to leverage them and kind of build this defensible company. People don't really just wake up and build insurance companies. There's a reasonable moat around that, by the way. You could do this and connect people to mow lawns or patch drywall, no problem. But we had an actuary on staff, and we had to get audited and go through kind of go through the insurance approval process. That was hard. So that was another part of the business.
So knowing what you know now, if there was a problem that you didn't relate to before, would you still tackle that?
Because of the other people, because of the question that I always ask everybody if it's like, what's your unfair competitive advantage? Like you want to start a business? Why are you going to start it better than me if I can go through $5 million at that problem? Like, why are you going to do that better than me? And like, as long as you have a good answer, like you should consider it. And so like in that particular case, I had kind of the app, I built a couple of apps. I had a lot of connections, the product releases, I had the network for the money, I knew the investors, and so like I was just a part of the equation. But like probably the hardest part of that role was what I didn't do, even though I have all the PTSD, was managing all those contractors. Like they were the required labor force to go out and turn the wrenches where nothing worked. And so I didn't do that, but I still dealt with all the problems. There were a lot of them. And so I would absolutely, like, even if it was a problem that I didn't birth the problem. This company wasn't my idea. I tried to shut it down a number of times before they, sunk me in. And I realized, wow, like there's actually a pretty big platform here. If you didn't have all that, like this would not be interesting. But we got to leverage that. We had a massive unfair competitive advantage, and I was ready to ride that.
How do y'all still exit to NG despite these problems?
I'm sorry, say your question again.
How do y'all still exit to NG?
Yeah, we did, yeah. Well, we grew really crazy fast. And we went all in. And there was no we were gonna sell the company for like tens of millions of dollars or like lose everything. There was no, like, the slope of the cliff was like completely like, we were gonna just fucking fall off the cliff, by the way. And so like, Angie was like our only exit strategy. If it wasn't Angie, it was toast. Because we were losing a lot of money, we had some big problems, but we were growing fast. We had momentum and everybody knew us. And so it took a year to sell to Angie. I think when Josh invested, we probably knew we were selling to Angie Film Services at the time because we had a buyer. They strategically targeted us. They wanted to enter from warranty because it's a really interesting customer acquisition that bid for them, and they weren't in the market yet, and so they ended up buying us. Two years later, the company was dead. What's up?
How old were you when you started this? I know you said you mentioned like what were you doing at that time?
I don't know, maybe like 27 or 28 when I started this one.
I want to hear your perspective
Y Combinator had like a recent kind of like ask that they asked like some of their, you know, people who apply for like their grants. I think someone even got one for organizing trades and kind of like vertically integrating like all of these individual like contractors and stuff like that. I think someone just got it for plumbing. How do you think, you know, some of the problems that you faced back then, can you solve with today's technology? How do you
Like totally differently, and you know, people. I mean, you can rebuild this today and just build it on an agentic base, and like I think you would totally you totally build a new and capable app. But I think like that would be really interesting, and I think one of the things, you know, that I was excited to just pose to y'all, like, how would you build this today? This was all very old tech, and you know, there's nothing really special about this. And I think one of the big realizations that we had is like, we had a really big vision. We thought we were gonna like take over like all of home services, and you know, we're thinking like, thinking super big, but we realized like this wasn't technology innovation. Like all this really existed already. All these features just belong in parts of other apps. So we realized this was like business model innovation. There's a different multiple that exists within the business model innovation versus real technology innovation. So this was business model innovation. Another funny story that exists, I might have a slide in here that I can point to. I don't see one, but there was we had a mascot, and it was a donkey. And we strapped a horn onto the donkey. And we believed we were like, we're gonna go build a unicorn. But one of the reasons why this came in, like this was actually a pretty funny force. Like we painted murals of the donkey in our office and some other things. There was a gentleman named Rama. He was one of my first 10 people at Facebook. He built all the servers and scaled them with Zuck. And like we brought him in. He relocated to Dallas. I became friends with him. We brought him in. We were like telling him about our startup. He was like, dude, this doesn't scale. Like this isn't even a scalable business. Nothing about this is that interesting. Like, you know, Facebook like scales exponentially. And so, you know, we were humbled, but he was like, we were just like, well, maybe we can just be a donkey. And like the donkey was the motivation of just like grueling hard work. Like that was what we were gonna do, was just like outwork our way to grow this company. And we just, you know, we were never gonna be the Facebook. But that was like a funny realization. So we had the mascot. Like it was our internal, we were gonna work the hardest, you know, type of mode. And I think like it made a big impact. As silly as that was, like, you know, that made a really big impact.
One more question.
So I didn't mention you have like a insurance business that too much. So were you banking on this providing that sort of quick notification availability where in order to recruit business since you weren't very much on insurance?
Yeah, that's all that it was. We had by the way, like one of our other biggest mistakes was we built the world's, what we called internally, joked about it, called the world's largest MVP. You see our tech stack. Our tech stack looks a little bit like this. We built a native consumer app on iOS, a native pro app on iOS. Like we did both those on Android. We built proprietary CRMs. We built like all these proprietary tools, and like launched them all. Like we spent a lot of money, a lot of time, launched them all. All anybody wanted to use was the web app. 95% of our business and everything just came from like our website, capture form. Like it was ridiculous. So that was a huge miss. Was like we should have just like launched that, built that, got it out, started testing things, and then built everything else.
All right, let's give Brian a big round of applause. Thank you. I have invited him at least 3 times to come out to start my class, and this is I think the first time he's actually come out. I don't think he's ever invited me to come over to his class. I don't know. But thank you for coming. I'm really glad you can make it. It's been fun because, and then Gordon Doherty, my other co-founder, who wrote one of the books I recommended you buy, he also has a course and curriculum that he's put together that he's schools at classes at UT have used, classes at A&M have used, classes around the world have used. A lot of that's available online. I mentioned it's the Founders Academy, and he's got most of it is video content he's put together. He's recorded all these awesome videos. They're really good, and you guys, I'm pretty sure you can get them all for free. So you should check those out too. Okay, 2 last things before we wrap up, and we'll get everybody out of here on time. Next week's assignment. We're going with the Gauntlet Challenge. This is what the Gauntlet people get the first day, and we'll send this to you as well. Your assignment is to build Slack. We recommend using, is this the one? Did this get updated again? Yeah, okay. Like, oh, that's not exactly what I remember before. To build a Slack type app, I recommend using Replit or Lovable. You don't have to, but those are 2 ways to let you, that are really intentionally kind of meant to be like no code. Like you're not supposed to have to be a programmer to go use those to build apps. And so those are 2 good places to go start. You can take this as far as you want. I don't expect you to build like all of the full security compliance and single sign-on implementations of Slack that let them work with big companies. Although if you do, you'll definitely pass. But there's a whole range of what that could mean. You know, can they create an account and log in and see other people and send a message and it pops up? Like that would be a really good start, and pretty impressive. But the more you can do, the better, to make it look and feel like Slack. It could be web-based, it could be an app on your phone, it could be a desktop app, I don't really care, it could be all those things. And you would demo yourself going and, you know, ideally you might open like 3 windows where each one's logged in as a different person. So you can do one, type hi, do the other one, sit there and like hello, do the other one, you see hi, hello, you're like, I'm here, you know, and just like see the whole chat. And then if you make, who knows, maybe you have some other cool features, like there's some like little animated AI avatar talking or something, you know, like that'd really be impressive. So take that with what you will. I don't quite know what to expect. The Gauntlet people actually go rebuild Slack. They get much more detailed instructions on this, like requirements for what it's supposed to be. And then your assignment is to record a 2-minute video that basically just kind of shows you using it and send that in. That allows us to just check them. And then we'll do, because we're not going to have everybody demo, obviously it takes a long time. So just like today, we'll ask different people to come up and show what they did and explain it and get to talk about it. So that's what we're going to do next week, the demo. And then the plan after that, I really don't know what to expect from that. I've been super impressed so far. I was really impressed with the GPTs the first week. I was really impressed with all the stuff you guys showed today and the pitches. So high expectations, but yeah, curious to see what we put together. And then after that, the intent is the next week. It's like you pick one of the things we saw and build it or pitch it. Or another example, like now that you saw Brian pitch fixed, is you could come in next week and give a better version of the fixed pitch. If that makes sense. Like, and if you impress me with that, I'll give you a thumbs up for that too. You know, like so. Anyway, the idea is there's a lot of iteration, a lot of like riffing on each other, right? And that's all this is. All right, last pitch. I'm going to give you one. This pitch. Give you this one today because it's a really fun one, but it's not something you can probably go build with ChatGPT. Hi, Casey. Hi. Oops, Stormy says hi. So this is a company called Icon. Anyone heard of Icon? 3D printing houses? Anyone live in a 3D printed house? Really?
No, I would.
Oh, you would? Okay, I was like, wow, I'm really impressed. I don't know anybody who lives in one. Not yet. But, well, you know, so, I mean, construction is like, it's one of those super old school industries that seems like really hard to pull into the future. And we invest in all kinds of companies that try to go do that in different ways. And we can talk about all different ways that it's hard. But in particular, pretty much every building you build, it's like custom built. Like every piece is measured and cut. And like we all used Legos growing up, right? Like why aren't buildings more like Legos or something like that? I don't know, for some reason they can't make it work. And so, so because of that, buildings end up being expensive, and like it takes a long time to go build. Almost every building that I've ever been part of, like I do construction here, it's like all like constantly over budget, over time, you know, like doesn't come out the right way. It's a really complicated thing. And then, and buildings are really important. You know, like when natural disasters happen or other things, like, you know, like you want your building to be strong. And if building, you know, you see problems with buildings falling down or other things like that. Some of our biggest challenges around energy come from home, how, you know, heat and HVAC. These are huge costs that come from, you know, how efficient your buildings are. And so with Icon, they just completely reinvented building houses from scratch. And instead of assembling bricks and logs, they created a 3D printer whose ink is concrete. They call it lava. And so when they want to print a house, instead of having to go cut all the pieces and assemble them all together out of pieces of wood that can rot, that can fall down, that can, you know, burn, that can get mold and all these other things, they print it out of concrete. And it can actually then suddenly be any shape that they want. It kind of curves and be like super cool, and you can have like really interesting designs. And not only that, but it's made out of concrete. It's super strong. It's not blowing over in a hurricane. And it's not like the water's like getting through it or anything like that. In fact, from an energy insulation perspective, it's one of the most energy efficient substances you can have. So it costs less to heat it, and it stays cooler in the summer. And so basically, you could make a list of like all the different ways it could be better. And it's better than building a house the traditional way in every single way. It's cheaper, it's faster, because they print the house in like 24 hours. Like most of it's up, and they just have to finish the pieces. It's more energy efficient. It's more eco-friendly as far as like what impact it has on the planet. And I'm probably missing a couple other things, so it's kind of better in every single way. So if you're going to go buy a house or build a house, you should be thinking like, I want a 3D printed house. It'll look cool, but also like if something happens, it's going to protect me. And the value of it's going to stay longer because like 100 years from now, it's still going to be sitting there standing. Like it's not going to fall down. It's not going to need as much maintenance or things like that. And so that's why Icon is like the future of houses. It's super cool. Build out ChatGPT. All right, awesome. So there's for today. 6:01. I'm 1 minute late. I'm sorry. Last check-in. Trying to keep you guys all on time. Looks like Anjali has another comment.
So if you're not under the official closed registration, can you come see me after class? Because we have to get that on your schedule.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure you get set up. And if you missed the first quiz or things like that, make sure to tell her that, but we'll work that out. That'll be okay. And also, as a reminder, that the first quiz won't matter, but if you miss any connectivity classes, just go for some thumbs up. Great job, thank you. I was super impressed today. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Phil and Eric, for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
Parking passes if you guys need it.
And we have parking passes.
I'm curious
Thank you.